All right, all right. Today we got someone, well, not just someone that needs no introduction. But I gotta give him his flowers anyway. This man has done it all, serving with honor, pushing past his limits, has been an inspiration to those around him, myself included, both in the Air Force and in his life. When I think of resilience, leadership, and integrity, one name comes to mind: Michael J. Scott. He's not just a good friend from our time at Barksdale Air Force Base, but a man who embodies what it means to be committed both to his family and his profession. So sit back, relax, and get ready for a conversation that's going to be full of laughs, lessons, and some straight up wisdom. Mike, welcome to Zenyoku, man. It's great to have you.
Hey, truly the honor and it's a privilege to be here on your channel, man. As you mentioned, we go back on our relationship at Barksdale Air Force Base, but I think it goes more than that, man. I think we were just always meant to be and destined to be. Friends, we were joking a little bit earlier about, I say you're my mentor, and you're like, man, you're my mentor, but this relationship is the dynamic here, man, is amazing, and I'm more than grateful to be here, and I really am. I appreciate that you allowed me to be on your show, man. So thank you for letting me be here.
You say we got this bro romance, what I'm saying? So,
it's a little romance, just a little bit. So you give me flowers, man. I'll get you the candy. I got you the chocolates. It's good.
So, let me ask the first question. So first off, I got to ask this, what's your favorite anime and how has it impacted your professional and personal growth?
Oh, man, there's a lot. There's a lot of animes out there. And I grew up heavy on them back in the day. The Toonami kids out there know what I'm talking about, the Cartoon Network Toonami days.
Mm-hmm.
But truly, man, and I know most people frown on it nowadays, but Dragon Ball Z is one of my classics, is one of my favorites.
Yeah.
Grew up on it, watching Goku scream for an episode and a half, and it's just, man, that resilience that he could scream for an episode and a half and never even transform yet is amazing. But the struggles, man, just seeing the challenges, the struggles, that teamwork that they always worked. I mean, you can relay a lot of things from anime or even different cartoons and shows to your daily life. But man, that's one of them, is Dragon Ball Z. That's kind of why I got the thing by here. From a shout out to Ruben Doncel. That was a donation to him. So thank you.
Yeah. I like that, man. Yeah. So you mentioned Dragon Ball Z before. So I know that's like, big to you. When Goku and the crew, are down, do you find it like with that second win, that kind of resilience, does it speak to you as in your leadership style?
It does, because if you look at the show, anybody does watch the show Dragon Ball Z or any of that, and they see them, right? The heroes are down, right? Like, just like you said, and they're like almost defeated. It's something in them that you start to see them reflect a little bit on their past, right? You start seeing those screen captures of the old episodes or whatever it is, but you see the support in there too. Hey, you got this. You can do this. We believe in you, right? Stuff like that starts to echo through their mind, and all of a sudden, boom! Now they got that second win. They go back out there. They capture the win. Every time, just because of the way it's written, of course. But it does, it inspires you, right?
Yeah, that's so true. Like, man, Goku is amazing like that. But it's funny, and I kind of noticed it, too early. That's why I kind of started the show, because I love anime, I love cartoons and different things like that. But I noticed like how the writers and producers produce it. They always talk about resilience. They always talk about getting up. Every protagonist has such a terrible backstory where they should be like hardened by life, right? But they choose to do something good with themselves. They choose. And sometimes that's very difficult. I have family members where it's quite hard for them to choose to do the right thing. And so I do empathize, right? But it's a choice to do something with yourself. So, man, I get it. I get it.
Yeah, and if you don't mind, if I can echo on something right there, you just kind of sparked my mind on something. So if you think about, we go back to we're talking about anime here, and talking about Dragon Ball Z, but even when Goku fights his enemies, right, at the end of the day, what does he always try to do at the end? Instead of just constantly destroying them or surpassing them, he gives them always a chance, a reaching hand out. Okay, hey, let's work this together now. Let's be friends. Let's find a way to grow together. I think that's important. If we're going to reflect back, especially talk about our daily lives and military lives, how many times are we in a pure competitive agency, right? The United States Air Force with promotions, right? Especially if you're your ranks. Sometimes you want to surpass that person. Maybe that bully, the bully other tech sergeant or the other bully staff sergeant. You're like, well, I'll promote them. Just think about how beneficial the Air Force could be. We're like, you know what? Let me mentor, let me guide my peer and work together. And let's both grow together, right? Man, now you just made a bigger impact and bigger difference. And now you got another friend, right? Another mentor, another growth partner. Not always easy to do. I get that. but the challenge, right? That's the whole point of what we're talking about today is those challenges and how to break those barriers. So just man, that kind of sparked me when you said that.
Yeah, that is 100% true. You've been through some serious challenges, man. And can you share a time when you faced something that really changed you? Maybe it's something that, still sticks with you today.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I have to think if you were there during those time frames. I think you were, or you might have showed up right afterwards. So this was at Barks Air Force Base, of course, and this is a military life reflection that'll move on. But this really did help me grow in my career as a young staff. Right, we were out there doing some great things. We're on a deployment, and I'm a highly capable individual. Right, I was a 7 level, and also I had a IPI certification, which is an in progress inspection inspection. So to be a 7 level is a big deal. To get the IPI is even another big deal, right? If you go back into our career field as a jet engine mechanic or any career field out there for that matter. Anyways, there was an inspection we were supposed to do, right? We knew that what was required of it was a special tool, and we did not have that tool because we were trained. It was such heavy embedded into the culture that you really don't actually need that tool, right? Now, instead of doing any changes to the technical order that we had to fix to do any of that, we didn't do any of that work that we should have done. We just said, okay, yeah, we just did our normal inspection. Not to say we were lazy. We really did make sure that thing was good by our visual and checking it that way. We just did not use this little tool. And of course, all that fell apart when we came back from our deployment. It was a big deal. And I got 2 choices from that commander at the time was option A, you take your gold belt off and hang it on my coat rack here and you're out of the Air Force, or option B, but you don't get to know what option B is. Obviously, I'm still in the United States Air Force, so we clearly know I chose option B. But it was a big deal, man. He gave me my core values card. I actually still have it. It's in my classroom. It's in my office, and when I go to I use it as a teaching tool. But it's the core value placard card, and it just has the core values and the airman screen in the back. And he said, you didn't care for them internally, right? So now you're going to care for your core values physically. So he made me carry that card for 6 months, and he's like, "You better come back to me in the same condition I give it to you, or you're done." Right? There's a contract. We had to sign this whole contract. So I immediately went, got it wrapped. I don't know if you ever saw it. And I got a plexiglass RTV, and a sealant, and I kept that thing, perfect. And it had to stay on my body for 6 months. If you ever saw me without it, I was in trouble. And I had to return it to him. And when it was time to return it to him, I asked him if I could keep it. But just that crazy moment, right, showed me like how toxic a culture can be. To even when I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm supposed to do. I can also read what was supposed to be correct, and I didn't hold myself accountable at those times. And I allowed a lot of great things we did on that deployment to fall apart because all they focused on now was the mess up instead of all the
that one thing,
right? And so after that, man, my mindset on everything changed a lot because I realized, hey, as an NCO, what I do matters to the people below me. I cannot let them fall or fail the way I did. And so now anything that I do in my career, I make sure that I pass on where I failed and make my missteps so they don't have to. I'm like, I already did it. I already failed. Team, you don't got to fail. I already did it. Just learn from what I did. You get to go ahead and move on through your career a lot better than the way I did. So that, man, it's just one of the many moments that truly just kind of changed my path to be a better example for my team and hold myself a little bit more accountable in that regard. It's a long story. Sorry about that.
No, I love that, man. Talk your talk, fam. Yeah, man. It all goes back to that one thing I heard years ago, and I still take it to this day, even though it's kind of like an oxymoron. Trust, but verify.
Oh, man.
You know what I'm saying? Like we say that a lot, you know what I'm saying? Especially out at everybody who's watching, we are in the military, right? We in a maintenance culture. And so maintenance culture is a little different. It's three career fields that are really crazy. One is special forces, 2 is security forces, and 3 is just maintainers. Well, not career field, but culture wise, right? Communities. And maintainers, I'm not sure if you guys know, are crazy. We're a different breed. And we're called upon to do so, because of the importance of our job, right? We are, what's the thing that they said pilots need heroes? So
pilots need heroes too, man. They really do. It's a maintainer.
Yeah. So, like he was saying, trust but verify. Like Mike was saying, trust but verify. It's such a big thing in the military. But a lot of people say, well, if you trust me, then why do you need to verify? Right?
Yeah.
But it's so important that you do so. So
because you have their back. At the end of the day, that's the reason. Is because I have your back, and I don't want you to ever fail. Right? Nothing wrong with a second pair of eyes.
You know what? I gotta ask you a question. Yeah. If you could be an anime character for one day, who would it be and why? I'm guessing Goku, but I want to hear from you.
That's a good one. That's a good question. Man, any anime character, why? Man, you know what? I would have to say almost Vegeta though. I'd actually go Vegeta because his drive and his passion comes not from like trying to do this. It's because competitive. That competitiveness though drives him to constantly be better. Yet he doesn't do it in a. Well, he used to. In the beginning, he did, but he doesn't do it in a. I guess I'll say a distasteful way. As I said, but he has all the same capabilities as Goku. Can still fly. That's cool, right? Everyone wants to kind of fly sometimes. Power up and charge, and he's a short king. You know, me as well, 5'7". So you know, he got the widow's peak. I still got some of my hair. You know, I'm not all the way there yet, but I don't know. I feel like maybe I'll go with Vegeta just to have some of that drive because sometimes I don't have that competitiveness. A lot of times, what I've known in my career, and this was told to me a lot actually by a lot of previous supervisors back in the day, was the reason you fail so much, Sergeant Scott, or you don't get promoted is because you don't put yourself in for no awards. You don't put yourself in any of these things. But a lot of times I was like, hey, well, if I'm a tech, I'm taking away from my staffs, right? Because we're in the same category. So how could I, as the person in charge of our office or our section, put myself in over my team when half the time whatever the team did is the reason we're so successful anyway? So it was hard for me to always get that mindset. But at least maybe if I had that mindset a little bit, maybe my career would have progressed a little bit more faster. But you know what? I'm kind of actually happy the way I think I've done it. And took care of the team first. That's normally what it's all about.
No, you're 100% right. And man, I do the same thing. And it has happened to me a lot of times. Like, honestly, my supervisors had to order me like, hey, you know, you need to write yourself a package this quarter. And I'm like, okay. Yeah, yes, sir. I'll get it done. But, you know, I'm thinking about my guys. And I know if I say, well, you know, I think, you know, what's his name deserves it. You know, he going to be like, I told you to write. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I was like, okay. So yeah, man, trust me, I get you. I always like to take care of my guys first and then, you know, put myself on the back burner, but I'm learning that it has to be, balance, but that is very difficult to have balance. You know, especially in what you're trying to do, man, because life is full of ups and downs and circles and rounds and it never goes in a straight line. You know what I mean? So yeah, I get you. You know, you always big on integrity and, you know, and why do you think that is one of the most important qualities, you know, and for success? And what make you want to show that in your day-to-day life?
I think just when you truly think about what integrity is, right? It's just doing. We always say, right? We say, "Oh, man, it's doing what is correct when no one's around." I think it's actually doing what's correct when everybody's around, right? Yeah, because that's when it matters the most. If nobody's around and I do something correct, that's great. But if I do what's correct when everybody's around, when it's a difficult choice, it's something so much bigger and so much more impactful for people to see that, right? To see that integrity. And I'm always transparent with that. Just like you said, I'm always transparent with like, hey, I expect the honest truth. I expect you to do what's right. Because when you tell me that you messed up, I can be there to help you and guide you, that integrity. But if you try to cover it up and hide it, it's only going to make this whole team, whatever the effort is, it's going to fall apart that way, right? Truly being upfront, integrity, doing what's right when everyone's around, it's such a big deal, right? And if you do it right the first time, you don't have to worry about it again. You know, so, but no, it's a big deal. I think integrity is not one of those number ones.
No, you're right. And you know, and that brings me to my next question. You know, for what I've seen, you mentored a lot of people in your time, especially at Barksdale, and now, you know, with your job that you're doing right now as an instructor. But I don't really even see you as an instructor. I see you as a pivotal mentor, teacher. Like I'll call you sensei, right? You know, what lessons have you, you know, on integrity, you think people still struggle with, even after hearing it time again, and you know, you telling them and impressing upon them about things?
So one thing we were just talking about, if we're talking about the military and promotion rates and all those kind of things, right? We was talking about embellishing your performance reports, or well, now they're not performance reports. What are they now? Performance briefs. Performance briefs, right? Yeah. But if you don't, right? If you don't embellish a little bit, how do you maintain the same level as your peers, right? Because everybody knows that they're all doing it. So when we challenge people, like, hey, you got to have the integrity, right? What's correct, man? Find that data. Be that reporter. Go dig into the news a little bit. Dig into what you actually did. Find those bigger pictures. It's not always easy, right? Because it's always, well, I don't have the time, or how do I find this other data? So it's just easier, right? It's just the easy thing to do for people to just say, well, man, you know what? I did walk by a blood donation the other day. And, you know, I did say hello. So, matter of fact, I might have connected some external agency to the, you know what I mean? And so sometimes I find people struggle with that. I find people struggling with the competitiveness of the United States Air Force when it comes to promotion rates. Outside of that, though, I haven't seen too many people struggle with integrity as a whole. For the most part, most people want to do what's correct. They want to do what's right because what I'm seeing, and this is great. This is what I love seeing, especially like you just said, as being an instructor now, is I'm seeing the Air Force is changing. I am seeing these new leaders taking over, and they're not the ones we had. They're not those ones that used to beat us down. They didn't never give us the why, right? They didn't give any of this. These individuals are trying. They're trying to move with the new culture. They're trying to move with the new airmen coming in, and they're reaching out with open arms, and they're like, "Hey, man, I got you. Here's what right looks like, and I'm going to show you what that looks like because I'm gonna take the first step forward anyway." These are true leaders coming into our Air Force, and it's amazing to see. Right, you get some onesies and twosies maybe that had some of the old school mentality, and I get it.
You're right,
but it's something cool, man. It's something amazing to see. Most people do lead with integrity. It's just that hard part, like I said, it's the competitiveness of our promotion that just the Air Force needs to find that sweet sauce, man. Figure another way out, maybe boards, like physical boards.
Yeah. Like you're actually going to it, and I think that probably be scary for some people. But you did mention something it really caught me. You like these new leaders that are coming in, right? The same generation as us, millennials, and then also generations after us that's promoting quickly and stuff like that. Do you think with the not promotion rates, but I would say the individuals that's coming in right now, you see it all the time, like the Air Force cannot make its mark when it comes to recruiting. The Navy's having problems. The Army's having problems. Do you think it's a issue when it comes to our social media, how the military is kind of portrayed as a business versus a community? Or do you think it's something else externally happened?
What I can kind of reflect on is externally. I think because when we're talking about social media and everything that the Air Force does do, or military as a whole, public affairs team's got it nailed down. Man, they are impressive with some of the things they can do, and I think they really do push out social media for the positive, right? Because it can be weaponized. Everybody knows social media, it can be weaponized by terrorist groups or whoever wants to use it, right? But I think ours does it for a positive effect. But I think it's something external, man. I think it's people can literally look it up right now. You can look at competitive rates of pay, benefits, and civilian sectors are matching, if not beating, what the military is providing on a one-to-one basis constantly. So why would someone want to come and volunteer and like, well, I got to go to basic and get yelled at. I got to constantly conform to standards. I got to do all this other craziness. I'm going to have to deploy to a war I might not want nothing to do with. Or I could just go work for SpaceX. Or I could just go work for Amazon. Or, I could go work for Tesla and do these same things with my same skill set. I'm going to get paid a lot more money. Because, as a matter of fact, well, you might be hitting on something. It might be the social media influence on the civilian sector that's kind of changing the narrative for most of our people because they see the flashy lifestyles, right? Why join the military when I could come and be a YouTuber or I can go on Snapchat, and do my thing real quick and do my sponsors and be like, all right, cool, I'm out.
That's true.
And then live that life, right? So I think that might be some of the difficult challenges is trying to bring that pride back to serving. And unfortunately, what we saw last time, right, the big influx when we did finally have that big surge was 9/11. Right, it took something super bad, right, a horrible tragedy, for people to be like, oh my God, yeah, no, we're all Americans. There's no more left, there's no more right. We're Americans, right? And no, we're going to stand up. And we saw a huge surge, and now we don't have any of that. And I would hate to say, probably some in the future, if we have any kind of high conflict, maybe we'll see it again. But I hope we can get that before that, right? Before anything like that can ever happen. So, interesting question.
I like that, man. You made me think about that. You mentioned once that how you made rank, right? And how you was ready to, walk away from your uniform. Cause, and these are personal conversations, but you had it openly, with other people, being there, how did that make you feel? And what was you going through in your mind at that moment? And how did it affect you outwardly moving forward?
Oh man, it's a big deal. So a lot of it attributes to, my supervision, this team here, the leadership I have. Matt Bonello was one of the main ones. When I first got here, I had a conversation with him and I said, hey, just letting you know, I only got these many years left. I'm on my way out, man. Don't worry about trying to develop me. I don't want none of that stuff. I'm good. I did that. I was like, I literally just came from a superintendent role. They didn't even give me the name, the title. I get that. They put me down to a different thing. They try to hide the fact I did these things, right? I was like, I'm just done with that life. I'm done with trying so hard and putting my family on the back burner to get this rank. I don't even care anymore. Don't even worry about it, man. I'm good. Just let me be an instructor and I'm good. And he pushed me, man. He could tell you he was underhanded sometimes. He would trick me. He tricked me. He's very tricky because he knows I can't say no a lot. He knows I'm really bad at saying no. But he'd be like, hey, man, you'd be interested in doing this one thing or doing this one thing. And he kept pushing me. And without me asking, he would put me in for awards, something I've never seen before, right? From our career field, right? He did it on his own. He didn't ask me. He just said, hey, tell me a story. So it's pretty amazing, man. And so I promised him, because I know he spent many nights and hours working on those things, right? Away from his family to develop me. I said, hey, man, if I make it, I promise you I'll give you that year. I'll give you that additional time frame, right? That service commitment. I'm going to put it in there. And then, of course, my wife was like, absolutely, you're going to stay in. What are you talking about, right? And I was trying to get out for her. I'm trying to get out so she can go live her life. I want her to live her life, her dreams. So many times her career's been on hold, man, for me. Right? And I was like, this is your time now. I'm like, man, I'm going to get this house clean. Laundry's going to be folded. I got you.
Yeah.
But, you know, as soon as she found out I made, she's like, we staying in, baby. She's like, we going the distance now. So, but that moment, man, when they surprised me, man, and this was my current supervisor, Sergeant Powell, really helped. And another individual, Sergeant Brewer, went out there, found out, like, they made multiple calls because we're in a guard base, right? Small unit. So they don't really have the access as immediately as most of the activities. Then they made multiple phone calls, found a connect, ran to the shop ed, got the rank, and then they told the commander, got everybody set up while we're out there getting ready to do a PT session. I think it was Commandant's channel, as a matter of fact, for our school, for the NCOA class. And they came out there, and I was in the background trying to get ready for this event. And I hear them call my name out there, and I was like, what do I do? Yeah, I didn't do anything. And it really was out of my mind, because I was like, man, because I figured they would already mentioned it like a couple of days before, right? And man, it was a big deal, it was a big effort, and something I never thought I would achieve. I mentioned while I was out there, it was my passion to make that rank, because it's what my dad retired at. When he got, when he was fed up with the Army, he's like, all right, I'm done with the Army, I'm out. And I was like, man, I really want to make that goal. But man, I convinced myself, like you said, the conversation we had, I convinced myself that I was just done. I was like, hey man, I'm good. You know what? I'm good. I have accepted that I will retire as a tech, and that's okay. Right? As long as I can continue to give back to the team and help other people grow, man, that's what it's all about. So to get that moment, it really did. It changed my trajectory here. And it showed me that, I got a little bit more to give, right? A little bit more to give to the team, and support these, like you said, these new leaders coming in with these new desires, the ones that are coming in, and continue to help them grow, man. So it's a big deal. I saw one officially October 1st. So that'd be pretty exciting. I won't be at work yet. I don't go back to work because, like I said, I got the knee surgery, so I'm like convalescent. But October 7th is my official day, supposed to be back. But I have a promotion ceremony on the 4th, on that Friday. I'm gonna kind of sneak in on the 4th and get that done. So it'll be pretty cool, man. It's gonna be a pretty big deal.
Yeah, it is a big deal. When I found out you made it, bro, I was punching the wall like, and then I hit you up. I called you. I said, I was so excited. And my wife was like, hey, what are you doing? I was like, Mike made it. She like, oh, for real? She's like, tell him what I said. You know what's up? I'm like,
said that old dinosaur finally? He finally made it? Tell you, man, it's a typical Air Force. They were like, oh, wait, he's about to get out. Why don't you just slide him this little rank real quick and let's see what he does.
Yeah. Let's tease him a little bit. Here you go.
Yeah. No, it's a good feeling, man. It really is. It's an honor. I got to go to that senior NCO induction ceremony down in Maxwell. Thanks once again. I got a great team here, man. They allowed me to go do that down there, go for a little TDY, and it was pretty cool to be part of that. Just see the growth of what it really means to be a senior NCO, and man, I'm gonna do my best. I'm gonna do my best to just try to earn it, and then bow out respectfully again. We'll try again to bow out respectfully. So we'll see.
Yeah. And so, you talked about how much your family means to you. And man, I got to say, it is beautiful hearing you talk about being a dad, about being a husband, like your wife putting her life on hold, and then you turning around and say, you know what, I want to serve you. What has been for you in those proudest moments as a father and as a husband?
Man, I got to say, so I heard recently, right? My kids, on the summers, they go down to their grandparents, because both our grandparents, my family and my wife's family, are still in Texas, about 2 hours away from each other. So they split the summer up with them. And it was really cool to get some feedback from my mom and dad saying, hey, your kids talk highly of you. Awesome. They're like, oh man, you know what I love the most about my dad is, I know he's tired a lot, but he'll come home and I'll be like, hey, you want to play football? And even though I can see he's really tired and exhausted or almost half asleep sometimes, right on the couch, he's like, yep, let's do it. And he goes out there and plays football with us, or, well, you know what I mean? Or he's always doing projects with us, or he plays the games with us, and just, so man, hearing that and hearing some of that feedback was something important, because I didn't think that they noticed those things. Sometimes you don't think, I'm like, man, they probably only ever see me when I get mad. You know, hey, why you fighting with your sister? Why you fighting with your brother? But it's when you hear the echoes from somebody else saying, hey, your kids recognize your positive sides, man. That meant a lot to me, man. That made me feel proud of just who they are. Plus, when I hear the way they behave with other parents, they may not behave well with me and my wife. I don't know who they are when they're here, you know. But man, but as long as they're acting right when they're with other people, and they come back and I get that, hey, man, your kids are well behaved. They're so respectful. I'm like, my kids, my kids. You sure it was mine?
Talking about them?
You know. So when you get that, man, it makes you proud to know, hey, when they're here, they're comfortable, right? With their mom and dad, of course, they're going to be there. Maybe their truer selves, right? They're going to be more relaxed. But when they're out there, they know, hey, I know my P's and Q's. I gotta, hey, yes, ma'am, yes, sir, no, ma'am, no, sir. Please, thank you. You know, they're doing the right things, right? They're doing what we expect of them to be role models. Matter of fact, I'll highlight one more thing because it was important to me. My son, I told him the other day, he's my oldest son, Alex. And I said, he's 13. I said, hey, you know, if you ever spend the night at someone's house, right? Parents, you know, just as we would do, right? If you had your friends here, you know, your guests ain't going to pay for nothing. We're going to take them out, get them whatever they need. I was like, but never take more than what you require. Right? Never if they're like, hey, we'll get you a taco, we'll get you this, we'll get you whatever. I was like, you don't need that, right? Even though they're just being nice. You should know when to kind of cut that off and just be thankful and appreciate what you have. And he did that. They took him to the fair and they wanted to get more. And he's like, no, I got it. As a matter of fact, I got some of my own money. And he used some of his own money because he gets chore money and all that kind of stuff, right? And he used that. And when I found that out, I replenished it right away. I said, hey, man, go ahead and check, because he has a debit card I signed him up for. I was like, go ahead and check your account. Hey, me and your mom are proud of you, man. Thank you for making that decision that we expect of you. And hey, your money's back. You know what I mean? So just moments like that, man, that just, you know, they get you right here.
Yeah, but you're proud of the thing.
They're listening. Even though you don't think they're listening sometimes, man, they're listening. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, I hope if your son finds this podcast, he sees that his dad is loved, admired, and is a superhero to more than just him. So, for sure. You know, we both know anime has a lot of say when it comes to growth, leadership, and perseverance. How do you think anime can inspire personal growth and professional development in others?
Oh, man, that's a good question. Well, like I said, we'll keep with the theme. We'll keep with the Dragon Ball Z thing, right?
Okay.
Think about it, right? And how many times, if anybody does watch anime, they do watch Dragon Ball Z, has Goku hit what he thought was his peak, his final form, his final limit, right? And yet he doesn't just stop there, right? What does he continue to do? He continues to train. He continues to push those boundaries. He continues to Vegeta, right? Him and Vegeta continue to fight and push those boundaries. And guess what? They break that barrier. That's what it constantly happens with them in the shows. They constantly break barriers. Boom, new form, right?
Yeah.
Boom, break another barrier. Boom, new form. Even Frieza, right? Even the bad guy is like, oh, it's not even my final form yet, right? There's always something else. There's always another step to you. And I think that's so important when it comes to development because, man, Mike, you can't get complacent in your career. Just because you master a skill set or you master your section and you're like, man, I got this down, man, good to go. And then things are just running smooth. Guess what? Complacency is the biggest enemy to our military sometimes. And guess what? Your section is going to fall apart. You got to continue to develop and challenge yourself. I know we come from an old mindset, and I know you're going to know this. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Right? We talk about this in my classroom sometimes. But guess what? Just because it isn't broke doesn't mean it can't be improved. Right? It doesn't mean I'm rechanging the whole process. It just means I'm going to improve it. Right? Because we're in a newer time, we're in a newer mindset. You get these new ideas from people. That's what's so important about our classrooms, the way we do things, is because you get a huge mindset of different perspectives, different career fields, different backgrounds, different cultures, and somebody's going to come up with an idea that inspires somebody else, and they're going to build off each other. And boom, guess what? Brand new, improved process that makes more sense for today's time. But it's constant development. It's not being complacent. It's not being comfortable in that space, and constantly challenging yourself for that growth. Right? That's what it's all about. That's why I'm here. That's why I'm an instructor now. Because I could have just been stuck in the military maintenance life. Probably.
You're right. You're right. Yep. That's true. And because of that, you see growth. And I was reading this book. I forgot. I think his name is something James Clear. It's called Atomic Habits.
Yeah.
And man, this book is pretty amazing. So it's basically talking about making small incremental changes in your routine, in your habits, in your behavior, right? Nothing big. You don't have to do this insurmountable, crazy, prolific thing. Just small changes here and there can affect such in a big way where it affects your behavior. It affects how you do things, right? So I thought that was, pretty interesting. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And I think for most people, mindsets, it's easier when you do smarter things, right? When you start doing smaller things to grow, it's easy. My bad.
No, it's fine. No, you ain't cut you off. You fine. No, it just makes me think. That's all. And is there an obstacle or moment in your career that you felt like you really shifted things for you that pushed you in new directions that you didn't expect?
That's a good question too. Man, you're hitting the hard questions today.
Hey, got to dig deep.
I would say one moment, there's a different moment than I was previously thinking, but something that does kind of remind me sometimes is how I first handled my first female troop, right? Because before it was, to me, it was just like, all right, yeah, all right, this is what I expect you to do this and that. And it was, at the time, it seemed easy, right? So I got my first female troop and I didn't realize the different situations that would occur and the challenges that she would have compared to her male counterparts. And I never put myself in that mindset. I didn't ever think to open my mind to that kind of perspective, right? Because I was just like, I'm just here to do my maintenance job. Let's press. So that actually helped me grow a little bit more when I started to put myself in other people's shoes a little bit more. And I started saying, okay, now let me make decisions based on what I know more about people now, and what I know more about what their situation may be versus just what I think is the easiest decision. And I think that small thing right there immediately started changing my path in my career to just, like I said, be a more open-minded individual, to be more open to other people's perspectives and ideas, without just having to overbear and hey, just do what I say, not what I do type leader or whatever it may have been back in the day. So that's one moment I can think of.
And you know, it's crazy because I'm currently going through as a flight chief as well. Is that I'm trying to transition my tech sergeants into having a growth mindset because before I got there, you know, it's maintenance, you know, either you're high on a horse or you're down with the pigs. And so, you know, right now I will say there are individuals in my flight that, like you said, they come to work and they dial it in. And I'm trying to challenge them not to dial it in. You know, they say, I don't care about getting promoted, sir. I'm like, yes, you do. Because every time promotion listings come out, you start getting happy. And I'm like,
yeah,
but you know, you didn't do anything to get promoted. And they're like, well, I'm not going to play the Air Force's game. And I said, if you don't play the game, you take your ball and go home. Guess what? You get left out. And I said, let's just say, you know, for the sake of argument, you say it's a game. I don't really believe it's a game. I said, think about it. Air Force is going to pay you to go to school. They're going to pay for all your schooling. They're paying for that. I said, then they're going to give you time to go volunteer in the community, in the squadron, and to network and grow with people. I said, and then they're going to want to pay you to get promoted and do better with yourself. I said, so is that playing a game? I said, if that's so, then the game seems kind of rigged in your favor.
Yeah.
You know, but they're like, well, you know, I just want to take care of my guys. And I said, well, what? I said, let's follow that premise. You want to take care of your guys. I get it. Cool. I said, I was the same way. I said, you being a tech sergeant, wouldn't you have more resources as a master? You as a master, wouldn't you have more resources as a senior? Can you network and connect with and open doors for your troops a lot more as this and that? And they started thinking, they're like, yeah.
Like,
I
wait,
can,
man.
yeah, I can.
It sounds like you got a bunch of disgruntled Michael Scotts in your section. That was my old mindset.
I would call them Michael Scott, but it's disgruntled people. So with that, you know, you got to deal with that, and I'm trying to motivate, but I feel like I'm chipping away. You know, 9 months later, they're starting to understand what I'm trying to do. I'm chipping away at them and slowly, you know, and it's hard because, you know, I feel like I got to go like balls to the wall and be extra, you know, in a lot of ways to try to motivate and not just motivate, inspire, and really try to let them know I have their back. I think that's the biggest thing is that they usually leadership kind of burns them and they're like, oh man, you know, I'm tired of this Air Force stuff. And it's not they're tired of the Air Force. They're just tired of the type of leadership they have, right? And then I come in and I'm like, hey man, we can do this. Hey man, let's do this. And they like,
hey, you in the wrong career field, man. What you doing over here in maintenance, you know?
They're like,
what I could suggest to you, Mike, this is something that I've seen back in my day that I found that worked really good is I used to when I wanted to push people and I wanted them to be their best, right? And I was like, I literally am here for you to be the best version of you. Sometimes I wasn't the right person for that individual to do that. And so what I found out is I started looking at who better matches who that person is that's that rank above that I can maybe connect them with. And so I started doing that. So I was like, hey, do you mind if you have a time frame? Well, can you maybe, if you have an hour or something, can I set up a meeting with you and this individual and have that conversation? And when I started doing stuff like that, I saw huge growth from that individual. I'm like, hey man, thank you for letting me talk to that person, man. He actually, me and him almost alike. You know, it was crazy to hear what his story and what he came from and see what he can do, man. I'm motivated. Like, I'm ready to get it, you know, get after it now. And it was cool to see. That I'm not gonna say it's always gonna work, but it is something that I did see that did work. Right? It's fine. Like me trying to fit that mold, I wasn't the right. We can want to go to an analogy. I wasn't the right jigsaw piece to that puzzle. Right?
Yeah.
I wanted to be that person, and I wanted it so bad. I was like, let me develop you. You know, and they're like, nah. But I found that person that did match for what they were looking for, and man, I got to see some growth at the end of the day. You know, and that's the goal, right? The goal was just to get that person to be developed and take control of their career, man, and finding that right person for them. Really, I saw really worked out really well for them. So just a suggestion.
Okay, and I will take that suggestion. I'll write it down as soon as I can. Yeah, and I'm gonna take that. I'm already thinking of one good person I know that probably can connect with this tech sergeant that I'm trying to mentor. So yeah. All right. So this is a fun question. You know,
Okay.
If you had to make your Mount Rushmore of anime characters, you know, basically your top 4, who's making the cut and why?
Really good. And you're always asking me good questions today. Well, clearly we already talked about, you know, Goku and Vegeta. I'm gonna put Goku and Vegeta too, man. I know most people don't like Dragon Ball Z no more, man.
So
but
1 and 2,
they're just two of my guiding souls. I also put Kirito from Sword Art Online, first season, right? Sword Art Online, man, is one of my favorite episodes. But dude had a lot of information and when you think about what he was, right? He was a beta tester, right? But he was the best beta tester for that game. When they get stuck in the game now, instead of just using that to his advantage to take over and be the biggest enemy, yeah, he plays solo. He's like the solo character, but he does it for a purpose because he didn't want nobody else to get hurt. But he took that information, you know, that he had to make the world better, try to push and free everybody. I thought that was really cool. It's one of my favorite animes. Yeah, I don't know how, you know, but hey, man, I got like some of the stuff tattooed. It's just one of my favorites, man. It's just
okay.
I used to love video games. My kids have all my video games now. Every kid has one of my old consoles, so I don't really play it too much anymore anyway. But it was one of my favorite passions back in the day.
But at a video game too. I mean, that's kind of hard, right?
For a minute there, I used to hold it down, but yeah, now my eyesight's like blurring, and the controllers are tinier, and I'm like, hey man, my hands are cramping, man. This ain't sure. So it's a little harder. You're right. So that'd be my 3, and then I say, hey, for that 4th one, man, you know what? I'm gonna put Sailor Moon. Sailor Moon, believe it or not, people don't know this, but Sailor Moon is one of the strongest characters out there. You know, they used to break universes when they used to have some fights and stuff. So, and Sailor Moon, I used to watch it, man. I used to watch it back in the day, you know, doing changes. You know, it was all we had on the one channel on TV back in our dinosaur days, right?
Yeah, they don't know. The kids do not know the struggle that we had.
Yeah.
And you know what? I used to like Sailor Moon, but I love Tuxedo Mask. Tuxedo Mask was the man.
He used to call through, man. So yeah, I put those 4, man. Those would be my Goku, Vegeta, Kirito, and then I throw Sailor Moon on it.
Okay, heck yeah.
She might want to be the top one though, because she's probably the stronger one out of all of them.
Yep. That is true. Well, man, it's been an honor having you here on the show. You know, we got some great gems today. And if you like the show, hey, you know, look out. We might be doing this again, you know. But, you know, this is just a live interview for the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Michael J. Scott. Man, if you got anything going on and you want to say something before we close, the floor is yours, man.
Yeah. So one thing I'll just share I share this when I'm able to teach. I always tell my team, hey, transparency is one of the biggest deals you can be as a leader, right? It's okay to not be at 100% every day. I tell them all the time, I'm like, how many times are you expected to be at 100%? It's not real. You can't do that. It's not manageable, right? It's not healthy for your lifestyle. So what I would tell anybody out there listening is just, hey, be transparent with your team. If you're coming in at a 45%, that's okay. Let them know you're at a 45%, right? Just say, hey, team, I'm at 45 today. I'm going to do my best to bump those numbers up as we go through it. Hope I don't get any lower. But just know, man, I just got some things going on. Please be there for me and my support system, and let's press, right? And it's okay when you just give that full 45 you get, right? That's okay. I think people just need to understand that. You don't always have to be operating at 100% all the time. It's unmanageable. It's not realistic. You can't do it. Because then when you get home, guess what? Your family or whoever, they're getting nothing from you. They're getting a negative percent. And that's a person you don't want them to see. So, man, just take it a day at a time. Utilize the resources the Air Force has. Anybody out there ever needs resources, please connect with me, or maybe you can connect with Sergeant Yubi here. But use the resources the Air Force and military has provided for you, because you know you get kind of used by the Air Force and the military. Use the resources they're providing you as well to grow and develop yourselves through your career, and be ready to retire like myself in 2 years.
Yeah.
But that's all I got, man. I'm just blessed to be here, and I'm grateful and truly appreciative. So thank you for having me on the show, man.
Okay, well that is what it is, y'all. Hey, this is the Yoku Podcast. I'm your host, Michael Yerby, and it's been another one. Peace.
Peace.